He's Black Guy Fawkes, and I'm sitting in the window, wondering when my podcast husband will return from the touring wars. And together we are Fawkes and Friends. Today, the third friend who we're talking to about the creative process is Matt Nasir of the Sleeping Souls.
1, 2, 3, 4. From coast to coast, from sea to shining sea, what he got is fucking wrong. His land's not made for you and me. We're chatting built the wall as we tear down Bottom Stall. And watch our kids get slaughtered as they run straight through the hall. Let's go!
What is wrong with you?
Hi, honey.
What is wrong with you? Jeez. Right.
But Ian, these tours, when will you return home from them? Where all are you going? Fill me in. It's been a while since I've done an episode.
And oh my God, there's a lot to talk about. Fun fact, guys, I'm going to be going on tour here soon. Pretty much everywhere, almost.
So, Ian, where in North America is this tour taking you, and who with?
I start back to playing again on April 19th. I'm at the Cigarette Jar in Baltimore. I'll be with Trash Bill, Confession Kids, and Dirty Fingers. Then right after that, that's when the tour fully starts, because I'm going to be at Sing Us Home with Dave Haas, Frank Turner, the Bouncing Souls, John Gallagher Jr., Speedy Ortiz, and just so many more. It's going to be a wild time for 3 days in Philly. Tickets are on sale for that right now. Then right after that, I go on tour in Canada with Ace of the State and Sister Wife Sex Strike. We're going to be hitting a few Ontario shows, going all the way up to Pooza Fest, which I'll be playing. I just got announced. So watch, I'll be playing with Sam Russo. Again, Frank will be there. Call Me Rita, which me and Ed, we love Micah Shabo and Jesse Speckman so much. So I'm fucking ecstatic to see them finally with full band and with Call Me Rita on the road in Montreal. That's going to be exciting. Then right after that, this just got announced. I will be touring the West Coast and Midwest with Pet Needs, doing full band stuff, doing some acoustic stuff, all the way up to Moores, Illinois for Forest Fest. So it will be myself and Pet Needs again, and Joshua Marshall, and a ton of other people as well. And then right after that, we get into probably my favorite festival of all time. Well, probably your festival, my festival, Ed, Camp Pennsylvania. It won't just be me. It's going to be the full band and everything. And it's us. It's Rebelmatic. It's Soji. It's Bridge City Sinners. It's Vandals. It's the Lawrence Arms. It's the
BGMs.
OBGMs. Do we say it at the same time?
Not close enough. I could edit it and make it sound that way, but I'm not going to.
But it is going to be a wild time this spring and summer, and I hope to see you all there. Tickets on sale for all of these as of right now. Get them. If you put a code Black Guy Fawkes for Camp Pennsylvania, you get 10% off your ticket. So make sure you do that. And we're going to get into this interview with probably one of my favorite people I met in 23 and up till now, Matt Nasir of the Sleeping Souls. Matt's a fucking talented ass dude. And every time I'm around him, was in Toronto or we were drinking in Portland, we always had just the best time. So hope you all enjoy this. Let's get into it. Matt Nasir, welcome to Fawkes and Friends. How are you today?
I am very well indeed, Ian. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. I know you guys are on tour right now. How's tour been going so far?
Really good. I was just expecting we'd be a little bit rusty because we've only done before this tour, we've only kind of done 5 full band shows this year because Francis has been off doing quite a lot of solo stuff in weird and wonderful territories. But yeah, it's great. Yeah, we kicked off in Newcastle. Great crowd response. We played Leeds after that. We did Liverpool last night, which was raucous. And tonight we are playing the Academy in Manchester.
How about the local openers then?
You're really good, actually. Yeah, really good. You never know. I mean, I think when you run like essentially a competition like Frank has for the local opener, I think that it's always, because Frank's got very different musical choices to what we do, let's say. Sometimes some of the things he plays me, I'm like, this is god awful. But actually, he's done really well because the players that he's picked are have been really good. Yeah, pleasant surprise. It seems that the up-and-coming singer-songwriters of the UK are on it. They're bringing something to the game, definitely. Yeah.
I'm sad I haven't missed these shows, unfortunately, but I saw you at 3000, which was a fucking blast.
3000 was indeed a blast. Yes, it was good.
How many shows have you done? You haven't done 3000, but how many shows?
I haven't been keeping counting. Don't know. I honestly don't know. It'd be interesting to know, but it does keep me awake at night. Whereas Frank's always been meticulous. I think Black Flag used to count their shows, so he's always decided that was a really cool thing to do. So, but yeah, show 3000 was indeed a special one. We've played Alexandra Palace before, and it's notoriously quite a difficult room for monitoring. We have an in-ear monitoring system on stage, and because it's such a big, boomy room, it's really quite often very difficult to pitch, and things sound out of tune when they're actually not, and that kind of thing. But this time, our team nailed it. It was phenomenal. We had a lot of fun.
I think I'm still picking confetti out of my hair, although I don't really have any, so it doesn't count. As a venue, that was a really cool venue. You said you played it before, and you said there's some challenges with the pitchiness. Is it because of like just how cavernous it is on the inside there?
Yeah, I presume so. Yeah, I mean, our previous sound engineers have tried to explain it to me, but I play the keyboards, man. Understanding the science behind it is not my forte. But it was a little difficult, especially the first time we played it. It's very difficult to pitch with backing vocals and that kind of thing. But I don't know what they did differently. I think that they were planning it for a long time. It was a lot of hard work for, especially our production manager, our front of house guy, and everything. So it was really good, though. I enjoyed it. What did you two think of it?
I had a blast. I started off the night somewhere in the middle of the pack, which is further back than I tend to be at shows. And by the end, I was just all the way in the back. I think that might be the biggest show I've attended in terms of an audience, because I don't do like big stadium stuff typically. So that was kind of overwhelming, but it was a good experience.
I trust everybody was well behaved, Dave, were they?
I was mostly well behaved.
I did pretty well. Granted, but before the show, I had a panic attack because I didn't know where to go to, and I was getting told to go different directions the whole time.
Right.
But the show itself, it was fantastic. My producer actually came out, brought his wife to the show as well. They flew out for 3000. I got them in, and they fucking loved every second of it. It was such a good show. I was telling them how I met Frank, how I met you guys recently at Lost Evenings, and I think my favorite memory of you and I is when we were at Baltimore, and you saw me with my cat hair shirt, and you excluded me from stage. Which, by the way, Ed made those shirts, and
But
I was thinking about this earlier today too. What is your musical background? How did you get into music?
my parents met in a band. They were like semi-pro. They had jobs, and then they'd gig out, weekends and some weeknights. So some of my earliest memories were waking up in working men's clubs at, midnight while they're playing like Cream numbers and Stones numbers and this kind of thing. And so we always had music around the house. We had a piano there, which I'd noodle around on. And then I tried to play the electric guitar, and it was difficult. But I really took to bass. So I started playing bass. I was originally a bass player. And played it throughout my teens. It was my main instrument when I did my degree. And then I landed my first pro tour with the official tribute to the Blues Brothers, which is a musical that went out around Europe for 6 or 7 months in 99, 2000 time. And it was great. I thought, I've made it. This is brilliant. Getting paid to play the bass. This is the dream. And then got back to London and couldn't get any gigs. So I jumped on guitar, by which point I was kind of quite proficient at that point. And me and some of the guys from the crew, the cast and the band on that Blues Brothers tour formed a covers band, which we did like corporates and club gigs and stuff, which paid our rent for many years. And then off the back of that, this is the slightly long drawn out story. I started dating a breakfast TV presenter, and she had a party. I was introduced to one of her best friends whose husband used to manage a band called The Unbelievable Truth, which was Jay Smallster, Andy York, and Nigel Powell. And he invited me over to a poker match at Nigel's house. And while I was there, Nigel was mentioning that Andy from The Unbelievable Truth was going out as a solo artist in Tractor Solo Hour, and they're looking for someone to play keys and guitar. Would I like to come and audition? I said yes. The poker match came down to head with me and Nige. He won because he had the 9 of clubs. I had the 8 of clubs. which was my first time I played poker, so I wasn't too disheartened. Yeah, and I auditioned for Randy, and then we went out on tour, and I think the second tour we did was supporting Frank Turner, who Nigel already played for. So Frank said, can you come play keys for me? I've got this Love Iron Song summer tour coming up. This is the dates. And I said, look, man, I appreciate, it's, you can only pay so much for a gig, but the gigs I'm going to miss out on with the covers band, I'm going to be a couple of grand down, which I just couldn't afford to be at that point. I said, okay, cool. And then he came back to me later on that summer and said, right, I've got another tour. I can pay you this much per gig. This much. So I took a hit on it. I got a depth for my cover stuff and thought, this is kind of the first time. I'm a melody guy. I'm all about melodies and chord sequences and stuff. It's the first time I'd really paid attention to lyrics and thought, this kid's got something. It's really good. So yeah, we hit the road, did our first gig in October 2008 at the Cockpit in Leeds. And the rest is history, as they say.
Now, as somebody who plays a lot of instruments, and I'm somebody who plays 0 instruments, I really don't know how to phrase this question, but is there an instrument that you think in, like when you're doing, because I know you compose and whatnot, like, is it like language where there's an instrument that you think in when you're crafting stuff, or is it just kind of whatever pops into your head?
I think I've always visualized a piano keyboard, despite me starting on the bass, because on a fretted stringed instrument like the bass or the guitar, once you kind of know something in a certain key, you can just move your hand up the fretboard, or it might not be the most efficient way, but you can get by doing it. But I think I see the distances between notes by visualizing a piano keyboard, yeah. Because it's one of the instruments you can see, if you're stood there with a guitar around your neck facing an audience, you can't see your fretboard. Whereas it takes a mere glance down and you've got that whole piano keyboard. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I haven't really thought about it, but yeah, I guess I've always visualized a piano keyboard when thinking about chords, melodies, key changes. It's kind of...
I know you've also written stuff for TV shows and films too. How did you get into that aspect of music?
So I started composing for a few publishing companies quite a few years back, and one of them in particular, Audio Network, they kind of take your music and they put it up on their site and they push it to like editors for film and TV and this kind of thing. And it just kind of built from there, really. Off the back of it, I've done a few documentary scores, and I was asked to do a rebranding for an online radio station a couple of years ago, which was quite fun. Where they've all got different themes, and it's good. The good side of it is that the briefs are always quite different. One of the first ones that Audio Network wanted me to do was we see you've been on tour with Flogging Molly and Dropkick Murphys. Could you do us we've got a real gap in Irish American punk rock. I was like, okay. And it wasn't really on my radar for composing, but you're given the brief and you look at the aspects in what makes people think that's Irish American punk rock. I drafted in some great, trad Irish players. Eamon McGeown is a world-renowned flautist that gets flown all over the world to play. Gene Kelly, who's this amazing harpist. And this lesser-known chap called Ciara Doherty to do all the vocals. In fact, I wrote most of the album about him. One of the songs called Ruiner is about him just telling you what happens in a TV series when you haven't seen it. The one called The Irish Departure is about him leaving and not saying goodbye or paying his bar bill. He does that quite a lot. But yeah, so the challenge of the brief of going into it, I really enjoyed. So I've done like kind of a more classical aspect album for them, which is piano and strings, which we tracked at Abbey Road. And it's just, it's great. It keeps it fresh.
Were there any TV shows or films that you were surprised to see your song show up in?
So it's quite funny. Watching TV is quite different now because in lockdown, Barclays Bank had this lockdown advert where all of their employees were doing it like we're doing it right now on like a Teams call or a Zoom call or something. And we were sat there watching it. I was like, I wrote that. And it was just, these pieces of music come up on some quite random TV shows. Married at First Sight, my music pops up on quite a lot. Seems like I had one track actually in the US. I've had one track do really well in the US over the last 2 years. And it's kind of just me, a nylon string guitar and some kind of like toy pianos and glockenspiels. I had this one track and it's all US. It's like ABC, NBC, CBS, all these kind of news-based ones, but also NCIS. And it's like this happy-go-lucky track that is like really kind of positive and upbeat. And it was on some kind of crime program. I don't know how they plugged it in. But yeah, they just kind of, this is it. They just kind of pop up all over the place, really. I think the most impressed my 8-year-old son has ever been, because he doesn't really seem to be impressed with the fact that I'm a touring musician and we play in front of thousands of people. The one thing he was most impressed with, he was trying to get me to watch a YouTube video of a guy playing Minecraft, right? Because he loves Minecraft. And he asked a lot, you've got to see this guy, see what he's done. He's like, okay, great. And then he put it on. And I said, pause it. Of course, I went, I wrote that music. And it blew his mind. It blew it right. He was like, Daddy, you're famous. So I was like, no, I'm not famous. It's the music I wrote. But yeah, that was cool. It keeps it fresh. Like I say, it's not, I think that's one of the bonuses of playing more than one instrument, is that, we'll go and do a Mingle Heart tour and I'll be playing baritone guitar, or we'll do a Frank tour, I'll be playing keys, some mandolin on this run and that kind of thing. So yeah, it keeps it interesting, stops you stagnating.
Outside of composing, I know you also have been writing with Cat for Sleeping Souls when you did your record outside of Frank. What's writing with Frank like compared to writing with like all of you guys together, Sanson?
So yeah, you start seeing the benefits of having someone at the helm, definitely, because as soon as you've got 5 equal individuals talking about composing and stuff like that, it's, it can be a bit tense because everybody's got different ideas about where it goes. So we were trying to put together a Sleeping Souls record for years and it wasn't working at all. And it kind of started falling into place when Callum joined the band. We had quite similar interests, what we liked in creating music and stuff like that. So that started to become a bit easier then. But because the push and pull of having 5 different, composers and musicians, I would say in the same room, but we'd never, when we tracked the album, we'd never played in the same room, those songs ever. The first time we did that was the first tour, but we started leaning more towards the idea of whoever had come up with the main bones of the song should kind of lead where it was going with it and that kind of thing. So some of the tracks on that, so Caught Up in the Scrape, the main lick with that is Tarrant line checking the bass when I was trying to get a level on his bass. And I was like, what is that? He's like, what is what? I was like, what you just played? And he was like, what did I just play? It was just that kind of thing. And that was Tarrant, Kahir's chorus, my middle 8. The Selfist is adapted from an acoustic guitar piece, an instrumental thing that Ben had. It's still some time, Kahir demo previous to this. And it all came to, gel together. And it was all sounding a little bit fractured. And then Kahir put his vocals all over it. And it was like, wow, there was the gel. There was the gel we needed to make this sound like a band. But yeah, it's very different to working with Frank, because with Frank on the last album, for instance, Undefeated, he demoed the songs, just him and an acoustic, and fired them over to us and said, see what you think, try and come up with some parts, let me know your thoughts arrangement wise. And then we went into pre-production and we tried different things. Some of the things we put forward didn't work, but you always had Frank at the helm going, I like this bit, I'm not so keen on that bit. Can we swap this? Can we put that on here? So it kind of makes it always have momentum, and you feel like it's good because the decision is taken out of your hands. You could write a part that you think, this is the greatest keyboard part I've ever written, I might think, right? But it might not work. And you've got to not be precious about it and go, all right, I'll just play these simple chords you want me to play. And it's a completely different discipline. But yeah, I'd say they're equally as interesting. It's probably a lot easier writing with Frank because he's at the helm, I'd say. And also, you've met Kahir. I mean, no, he's good, man. That was one of the easier bits because he's like me. He just sits there all day, putting like little melody ideas on the voicemail on his phone. You start patching it all together, and there's some really good stuff.
I remember watching you guys in Toronto for Lost Evenings, and at first I tried to get in the crowd. I realized it's too many people. I'm gonna get too heated up, so I just went upstairs. But y'all fucking ripped it.
Oh, I'm glad you enjoyed it. It was fun. It was really good fun. I was surprised how many people turned up. Yeah, it was cool. It was really good. And it's not often we've done it. We did a 5-day UK tour in the January, and then that gig. So it's not like we've done it very often, but it's a lot of fun when we do it.
It was such an odd little stage too, in the Nick Alexander stage in Toronto. Like you guys were cramped in there.
Yeah, it was snug, but we used to travel in a tour bus together, so that was nothing. That's fine.
Speaking of tour bus, so I know that he's doing his May tour. So while he's out on in the US, what are you guys doing like whilst out on the road? Are you guys writing for a new one, or are you guys is this just downtime?
So Kaher is out with Frank teching for him. Tarrant will be running his nightliner business, which is largely his main focus because he's got a very successful vans and bands business. Callum's always doing loads of other projects and this kind of thing. He's young, he still likes it. But yeah, he's still, keen, and he played with lots of different artists. Well, what Ben's doing, I'm going to try and get Ben over to my studio and fix my mandola and put new pickups in my electric because he's a genius like that. I am currently working on an Audio Network album, and the brief was they wanted a female punk rock album. So I drafted in Kaher to co-write with me because he's a genius like that. And we've got his wife, Lindsay, also co-writing with us, and she's doing the vocals on it. And it sounded pretty awesome. It's good. It's going well when you're playing ideas in the dressing room when you're on tour. In fact, like, what's a bit? I don't know. You can't have that. Can't have that on this. So that's quite promising. The vast majority of my time at the moment is doing two things. I'm reworking my website because with Frank doing quite a lot of solo stuff that I was about, one thing I do kind of miss is teaching. So I was going to set up some online. I mean, I'm not going to have many slots to do it because I've got 2 young kids and family life is important and takes up a lot of my time. But yeah, I was going to start doing some tuition back on instruments and music theory, but hopefully more of kind of music consultancy really, and get some, young artists and young bands coming up and say, right, here's a piece, what would you do? And I'd say, well, let's, look at this, look at that, more like a producer aspect, but doing it as an online thing really, which I'm quite looking forward to. So I'm reworking the site to cater for that. And then I am currently working with Fat Mike from NoFX. He released an album a few years back called Fat Mike Gets Strung Out, which are string quartet arrangements of NoFX songs. And he wanted to work with me on the next one of those, really. So that's a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. I didn't quite know what to expect. I mean, we'd talked with NoFX before, and, it's rock and roll, it's full on, so there's not often time to sit down and discuss the more subtle sides of arranging and strings and stuff. But a mutual friend suggested, so, he's like, what about Frank's guy? And he's like, well, Frank's guy's Matt. He's like, Matt. And he's like, Matt. He's like, oh, get him on the phone, and it started like that. And it's great. It's really cool. It's really fun to work with because his angle on it. So I'll put he'll suggest a track to look at and I'll put together a framework. And the first one I sent across just came back with one sentence. He said, too busy logging notes. And I sent the next one back. He was like, perfect, let's go. So sometimes it's fluid like that. So we sit down and we go through it, and he has some, his ideas that he puts into it are so different from what I would do. It's really interesting because I'm like, oh, well, I didn't think of that, and it's cool because you start working off each other and coming up with something completely fresh. So we're looking at that at the moment, and I'm working with him on the score for a NoFX documentary that's coming out very soon. But that is taking quite a lot of my time.
Going back to the Audio Network stuff. So you're basically creating songs for a band that doesn't exist per se to be in something because they're looking for a certain feel. So they want like a female punk rock thing, right?
Yeah. So
does that stuff ever then translate to like, okay, this has shown up in shows. Does it then maybe get released to like the wider public separately ever? Or does it ever inspire like that kind of stuff? I'm just curious.
Well, their framework does allow for that. I mean, there are artists that solely release their, original music through them. And the bonus of doing that is that the original music then gets used like in a sync basis for film and TV, whilst they're actually taking it out on the road. And then I'm sure there is a physical copy aspect of their album and that kind of thing. But with the stuff I do with them, a lot of it you can hear on Spotify, on my Spotify, but they're all kind of different. But yeah, essentially what we're putting together, we wouldn't ever foresee doing it as a gig. The Irish American punk rock album, I have had quite a lot of requests when we've been out on the road with Frank, like, can you and Kaher put this together? Or we were out on the road with Flocky Molly, and a strange amount of people were going, just, speak to Dave King, see if you and Kaher can get up and start playing these songs. I was like, I'm not entirely sure that's my place to do that as the keyboard player of the support band. But yeah, it's always the focus is always with making the recording exactly what is needed for the brief. rather than going, oh, how would we do this live? That never really comes into it. So yes, it's like an imaginary band. Well, this one is particular. I did most of them myself, but occasionally I co-write. But I thought this one would be fun to co-write, definitely. Could get in Lindsay and Caho's aspects in with. I'd played some of their band stuff. They've got a band called New Pagans who are awesome. And I played them to the head of A&R Audio Network and said, well, with your female punk rock then, how about something like this? And he was like, perfect. I was like, right, well, let's do this one as a co-write because their angle is fresh, really good, really on it. And yeah, I was just before we were on this call, I'm just going through sending the kind of the rough recordings over to them now. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. I mean, it takes quite a while to get an album out on them because there's a lot of back and forth, fine tuning and getting the music so that it has the maximum potential for usage. It's easy enough for editors to have a lot of stop points and this kind of thing. But it's going well. I'm looking forward to it. I'll send you a copy.
Right on. And I think it's time for our favorite game.
Do you want to fill Matt in on our favorite game? And what is it called?
So this game's called Surprise Motherfucker.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Surprise Motherfucker.
Right?
So we have some quick fire questions for you.
Right.
We say quick, but not really because we took too long with it. But the first one I have for you is what are your top 4, your Mount Rushmore of musical influences?
What are my top 4 musical influences?
Like,
on playing or composing?
on playing.
On playing what instrument? Alan Wilder of Depeche Mode. See, I don't know. You see, this is the thing. My key stuff is largely based on what I do on other instruments. So it's not like... So I play quite a lot of weird crosshand rhythmic things, even on Frank's stuff. But that's come from being a bass player. So the key thing is let me tie it all in. I'll just say the top one, probably most influential people all round for me would be Martin Gore from Depeche Mode, songwriting-wise. Johnny Greenwood of Radiohead, I think it keeps surprising me. I loved his guitar work in the earlier days, and the score work he does is just, absolutely amazing. Blows my mind. Who else do I like that's really influenced me? I'd say probably Mike Patton, Faith No More. Of just creativity, stagecraft, everything. That kind of aspect. And maybe John Entwistle with The Who. Who was a phenomenal bass player. Funnily enough, I've just moved to an area of England where he used to live, and a few guys that I go out for a curry with every once in a while were mates with him. So you get to hear all kinds of the extremely rock and roll life of John Entwistle. You get to hear a lot of stories, but probably I'd say that's probably the main influences of me wanting to play, wanting to compose, that kind of thing. Surprised, motherfucker?
Hey, Ian, it's Matt's game now. We're just playing it. So you guys are on tour right now, and so this is mine, Mount Rushmore of like the top music scenes to play in the UK, because I know every place regionally is a little bit different. Like, where are the 4 spots that you're like, yes, we're playing here?
Venue-wise, I'd say Rock City in Nottingham is always a special place for us because we did our 2000 show there, which was still to this day probably the one show which it was so special for so many different reasons. But I mean, it's the crowd were louder than my monitor, which is saying a lot. Because at the time I had quite loud monitors, and yeah, so Rock City and it's just a lovely layout, and the venue staff are just awesome, and that's always fun to play. I like the Scala in King's Cross. I saw Soulwax play there back in the day, and it was amazing. It's kind of like this small 800 cap venue where it's kind of tiered, and you can't really see how 800 people fit in there. And then Mingle Hard played there. We did a show there, which is probably one of my favourite shows of all time. So I'd probably say there, just because it was the first one we did of this size. I'd say probably Wembley Arena, again, because of the first time we played Wembley Arena. It was a big jump up for us, but it was cool. It was really cool. And I think probably Brixton Academy, just because I'd attended so many gigs there. And I really like the room because I'm not very tall and the floor's raked like this, so you could see from everywhere. And the bands I saw there were just, so influential on me. I saw Faith No More there a couple of times, and I saw Muse play there. I'm not a massive Muse fan, I must admit, but I did see them play there on their first album tour, maybe second album tour. And it was just raw. just absolutely raw. I saw DJ Shadow there. It was amazing. Supported by Z-True, it was a party, And so I think that one in particular, when we first got to headline that as well, it was like, we're playing Bruce Academy. This is cool. And of course, like Faith No More did a live video from there on their Real Thing tour. It's just, special. Really special venue. Love it.
Well, on the other side of the pond, what are your favorite U.S. cities to play?
On crowd response, I mean, Boston's always insane. It's insane. It's pretty much the biggest territories for us in the US are all the places where we did our first big support tour with Flogging Molly in 2010. So all the places we played there, so it was mainly East Coast and then down into the South, are some of the bigger territories. Favorite places to play vary though, because of just you like being in the place, Boston's always pretty special. Asheville, North Carolina, is that in North Carolina?
It is.
Yes. I like Asheville a lot, mainly because we had a great gig there and it's got about 10 microbreweries on one street, which I was like, like Disneyland, let's go. So, it's really lovely place. I think the Bob Moog Museum's there as well, which I thought was really cool. I tend to have a really nice time there. I mean, it's probably predictable and not everybody, and certainly most of our touring party would not agree with this, but I really like playing New York City. I really do. Because it's one of the few places where I always go out in the day. I love walking around, and it's so vast. Even though I end up probably going to the same places I went to last time, but it's just, I go to my favorite restaurants there. I go, it's always a fun day out. And largely, I'd say my other, favorite places to play. Some of them are more on the West Coast, but the weather doesn't really suit me. I don't get on with hot weather so much, right? So some of our party really love playing LA. It's fun, but the reason I like playing there is because we've got such a lot of friends there now after playing for, on the road for 16 years, so it's like, that's largely one of my favorite places to play just because I get to catch up with one of my oldest school friends who moved out there and we were in our first band together and that kind of thing. And it's always a lot of fun playing out there.
I'm sad it's no Baltimore, but I'll get over it. It's fine.
Well, Baltimore is always amazing because largely when we play the Ram's Head, right, it's again a venue that it's just people everywhere. I love it. You never get bored playing it.
Vaguely remember that gig, that last one. Vaguely.
Yeah.
I made an oopsie and I met up with Ian and a bunch of our friends beforehand. And I was so excited to see people I hadn't seen in about a year that I forgot to eat dinner.
Wow.
And I just kept drinking alcohol straight through. At one point, Vanessa looks at me and goes, "Baby, you need a water." And I'm like, "Oh, yeah, I guess I do." But back to the U.S., food over here. Like, what are the 4 things you look forward to eating while you're in the States? Because we are a borderline food podcast.
Expectancies of the US food and realities of the US food are 2 different things before we came out, right? Because I think the people that haven't been to the US, you just think, it's impossible to eat healthily on the road would be one. All the portions are massive. You don't know very much about cheese, these kind of things. And whilst I would agree, your selection of cheeses is not anywhere near what you can get where we live. You can get anything in America. But I think if you're talking about things that are specific to America, like stuff you just can't get anywhere, like good barbecue, you go to the right area of the US, you just can't replicate that anywhere else in the world. I mean, there are some specific places that we always frequent, but yeah, like barbecue, I enjoy it. I was quite surprised how much I liked chicken and waffles because I thought, why the fuck would you put those 2 together? That doesn't make any sense at all. And then I had it once where it was like it was the house speciality. I went, oh. And I was like, wow, whilst that is a once a year dish, it was pretty incredible, So it's those kind of things that like you can't really get anything like In-N-Out anywhere else apart from In-N-Out. Do you know what I mean? Or Five Guys tastes better than it does in the UK. It's just there's little things. I mean, it's kind of criminal to not go to some of the US states and not have a steak because it's just not going to taste anywhere near as good anywhere else apart from that kind of thing. So, but I mean, you can get anything on the road in America. I mean, that's the cool thing. I mean, it's one of our favorite places to talk because you play one place, go out to a bar, have a drink until 2 a.m., jump on the tour bus, you wake up somewhere completely different. You can be in the same state and it's very different, that's what I kind of love about it. But you can get anything. If you're on the road in the US, if there's something you didn't get in the previous town, you'll probably get it in the next one. That's what I enjoy about it. And I must admit, it is difficult to keep the pounds off while you're playing in America. That's not always necessarily because your portions are big, and they are. It's more to do with there's too much good shit and you want to eat it all immediately,
One interesting thing for me is tonight Manchester over there on the day of the recording? You guys playing there?
Yeah.
A friend of mine in Manchester posted a picture of pizza from Domino's in Manchester. My friend Carly did. And I'm like, why does your chain pizza look so much better than ours? Like, this actually looked like a pizza I would eat on purpose. And
Domino's can be hit and miss. The other difficulty of this is being slightly spoiled of where we are geographically, right? So we just, back end of last year, we did a big European tour, did a 5-week tour, and we went everywhere. So we went to Italy and we ordered pizza in Milan at a place that we know, and it's phenomenal. You didn't really want pizza for the rest of the time you're on. So, because you're like, what's the point? What's the point in ordering a burger anywhere else apart from the States? There's not really much point because your brain knows, yeah, it's a burger. It's not the burger, So we're quite spoiled like that. It's like you go, like we were in Italy, we were in Spain, and it's just there's so much good food that you tend to eat regionally. Do you know what I mean? Hence why I probably come back quite a few pounds heavier after touring the US, because it's like, I'm going to eat barbecue and burgers while I'm here because it's great.
I know you guys tour a lot. Of course, you guys tour a lot of the EU. What are your favorite places to visit in the EU, country-wise?
Italy is a great place to have a day off because it's beautiful. You just look for a restaurant where it's all locals and the food is going to be out of this world. The wine probably going to be €6 for a carafe and it's going to be out of this world, right? Doing gigs in Italy, however, it can be very different because how can I put this? I mean, and it's not always a problem for us, but our crew, it can be quite difficult because the in-house crews and stuff like that have a very different work ethic. So they'll be a lot more relaxed about it. And they're like, guys, you need to build the stage, the door's open and they're like, yeah, we'll do it. Let's have a glass of wine. So I think it's a mixed thing with where you enjoy playing for different reasons. So I enjoy going to Italy because the food and the wine are phenomenal. Playing shows, Germany is always pretty special for us. It's a big territory for us. And Germany was largely one of the main places we toured on the very first tour I ever did, that Blues Brothers one I mentioned. So we toured a lot of different places in Germany, all over. So I know quite a lot about different towns there. I really love Cologne, especially Hamburg and those kind of places. So Germany's always fun. We don't get to play France very often, but for similar reasons to Italy, I really like going to France. Food's phenomenal, wine's phenomenal. We're not really that big in France, which is odd. Frank's kind of fluent in French and does all the show in French when we're over there. And, who knows, maybe one day we'll crack it, but I wish we toured them all for that reason. But yeah, they're kind of the main places I get, excited about playing. And then, of course, it's always exciting to play new places because you go into, before we'd ever played Budapest in Hungary, it was like, I didn't really know what to expect. I'd been there on a day off during that first tour I did, but I never really explored. And just, it's crazy. Just really good crowds, lovely people, It's a different vibe from different places you go, Switzerland, we never have good wine in Switzerland. I'm sure they've got it somewhere. We've never seen it. I'm sure they've got good wine. We don't get it in our rider, but just quite, up for it crowds. It's good fun.
Well, when I flew to go see you guys in 40,000, me, Adam Strang from Route, we took a train with a few friends to Paris. That was my first time over there. We had dinner at the Eiffel Tower. I remember that. I remember some prostitute trying to get me to buy her like a €75 glass of champagne. Like, fuck no, I'm good on that. I didn't want to pay for that, but I did bring up a bottle of Malort with me to the very top.
Malort? Oh my God. Now let's talk about literally the worst liquid in human history. Malort. Yeah. First, oh mate, I couldn't believe it. First time I had it in Chicago, I was like, who would do this? Who would do this to themselves? The worst thing I've ever put in my mouth, I think. Malort. It's all awful.
Once gave me 110-degree Malort at a festival, and that was worse than just regular Malort, hot Malort. I still
Um,
have nightmares
Isn't he-
thinking about it. Thank you, Ian.
isn't he
I'm going
wet?
to ask the question that I always have to ask is if we were all at a karaoke bar together and you were going to sing a karaoke song, what song would you sing?
I traditionally don't really enjoy karaoke singing. Quite fun to go along and watch other people do it. I'm not much of a singer, but the last time I did it, which was many years ago, I was shit-faced and I did From Russia with Love by Matt Monro, and then realized I only knew the first 4 lines, and then was slightly too drunk to read the words coming up on the screen and how they phrased. So it was a car crash, but I did enjoy the first opening of it. Yeah, it's good. Yeah. What do you do?
I'm the idiot who got karaoke tattooed on his knuckles at Lost Evening 6. So I just do
Oh, really?
So I do whatever at this point. It's usually like, this weekend I did Chapel Roan for the first time.
Right.
I did Pink Pony Club. That went over exactly as you would think it did. Ian does a really good Oasis though. I'll say that.
Oasis is a funny one, isn't it? With the US, it's really interesting talking to friends in the US that really like Oasis, and it's the viewpoint. I don't know. I guess it differs with everyone. I mean, Oasis were massive in the UK, right? They were massive, and the shows they're about to do are massive. I was never really a massive fan of Oasis, and I think the culture that came with it kind of certainly put people like Frank off. Even if there was ever a chance that musically it'd make it through into his ear, it was
We are
like
so shocked whenever we hear about that from guys over there because it's like people get beat up at Oasis shows and we're like, that band, those twee guys with guitars, they inspire violence.
it's such a different perspective on Oasis in America as there is to the UK. It really is very different, very different. I can't remember. I wish I knew what band it was, but yeah, you're gonna have to ask Frank next time you interview him. But he went to see a band. I think they're kind of more like a hardcore band. I think they were. They came on and did an encore and did an Oasis cover, and he said it just bombed. They were just like people were like, what the fuck? You would read. They didn't know about this separation in opinions of Oasis between.
He told that story when he was on. I think he did tell that story when he was on.
It's weird, isn't it? Yeah, different perceptions.
Yeah, I never really. So I know of Oasis. I listened to What's From Morning Glory and all that, but I never really understood like the hype over it. So probably because I was younger at the time, so I didn't. So I wasn't. I was like 2 when Morning Glory came out, so I was able to like understand anything. That was like 95, right? Yeah, I was 2.
Shit. So yeah. Well, how old was I? I was 17.
But then like when 2000, I got into like My Chemical Romance and like Fall Out Boy and like that whole emo era. So I feel like I would like Oasis and all that. That wasn't gonna hit me at all. But
Yeah, I was more of a Blur fan. I must admit, I really liked them as a kid. No.
on that subject, do you have any guilty pleasures?
Sorry.
Music-wise? Any? Yeah.
Any guilty pleasures music-wise? I wouldn't say guilty pleasures. No, there's no one I kind of listen to and think I shouldn't like this that I do. I mean, like I say, I'm all about melodies and chord sequences. There's some pop stuff that I'm like, that's genius, There's quite I'm old now, right? So there's quite a lot of newer music I listen to and think, what is this utter shit? And then the other one bits you listen to and go, I can see why this is massive, That's kind of, I think you either adapt to that when you get older or you become like Kaha and you just hate everything. Yeah, there's a lot of dislikes, right? I've probably got more guilty pleasures in other aspects, like TV shows. I don't know how, but I got really into Gilmore Girls years ago. I was addicted to it. Yeah. There's a British TV show called Fake or Fortune, which is about experts looking at paintings that people have sent in saying, is this worse than an impact? And sometimes, musical guilty pleasures, there's not really anyone that I think I'd probably say, and you go, oh, that's terrible. Why would you listen to that? I don't think there is. Maybe I just think I'm too cool. I don't know.
Fortune. I'm gonna have to look that up. My guilty reality TV pleasure comes from over there because it showed up on Max, I think, during the pandemic. But Naked Attraction. That show, I was like, this is terrible. I love it.
Yeah, it's not for me. I'm like, yeah, no, that's not really a method I'd like to use in meeting someone, even if I was single. And
It was a surprisingly wholesome though, like it wasn't just like super hot people. Like there were like people in their 70s on that show, and I'm like, wow, this is wholesome and naked.
Yeah. Here's a quiz show. You're standing there 1 minute and then you're inspecting people's genitalia the next. It's odd. That's odd.
Wild.
Ed, you're weird, dude.
Yeah, I mean, fair cop. Yeah.
See, my social to UK, I guess, TV show, not guilty pleasures wise, but when I was younger, my mom, she grew up with a lot of Beatles in the house, a lot of Queen.
Yep.
She made me watch a lot of Mr. Bean in the house alongside like Fawlty Towers and stuff like that. And I saw this a little bit, but I'm named after an EastEnders character.
You're named after an EastEnders character.
Yeah, Ian Beale.
No,
Yeah,
I mean, I think that's the most interesting fact of this entire interview, and that's amazing. Because yeah, I mean, Ian Beale was like, I guess when I was growing up, it was just a household name. I've never been into EastEnders, but everybody, even if you don't watch it, you know who the main characters are. And I think he might still be in it, and who knows? You know, his characters, you know, been running years, decades. That's
And
interesting.
Johnny from Pet Needs turned us on to Peep Show.
Peep Show's excellent. It's very.
Yeah.
I'm a big David Mitchell fan. He's recently done a different TV show called Ludwig. That's very good. It's kind of a daytime detective show, if that makes sense. But I really like David Mitchell. I find him very funny. Yeah.
For some reason, my friend Alice O'Brien, we played together at Aces and Nate. We started talking about Teletubbies. I didn't realize that was a UK show until I looked it up.
What show? Sorry.
Teletubbies.
Oh, Teletubbies. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how much cocaine was used to make that show, because Jesus Christ.
It's genius. Like when my kids were little, you know, it's really small. They're just transfixed by it. You know, there seems to be this overriding baby sun god, and just these weird things just happen. It's like, all right, and they just, the kids just like watch it. That, and there's a program called In the Night Garden which they were really into. You know, some sad dude goes sailing out to sea, falls asleep on a boat, and wakes up in some real trippy land. You know, yeah. I mean, that's kids' TV though, isn't it? I mean, it just doesn't make sense, but they know what they're doing. There must be a form of that.
I have one more surprise motherfucking question for you, and that is, what TV show would you like to write music for? Like, what would be your pinnacle?
What TV show would I like to write music for?
Or film, what would you like to write music for?
It's a difficult one, because what I'd like to get my teeth into and write for would be, maybe something like next season of Fargo. Have you seen Fargo TV show? Like, that's always really interesting. I like those kind of interesting, quirky, and I think that kind of would suit my style quite a lot. But I'd be lying if I didn't say I'd like to score a Bond film, because I'm a big Bond fan. Well, I was a big Bond fan. Who knows where they're going to go with it, but yeah, I think one of my, I'm a big Radiohead fan, and on that, fateful Christmas morning when Radiohead said, "Oh, we were asked to do a Bond theme," and I was like, "Oh God, it's the two worlds have finally collided, Radiohead and Bond," and then this just absolute peach of a song, and then you heard the absolute piss of a song that went on the movie. It was just like, "Is the world coming to?" But yeah, probably it'd be nice to score a Bond film.
Who's your Bond? Who's your favorite?
Connery, but I'd say I really liked Daniel Craig. I really did. And for this part of the interview, I'd like to bring in my personal assistant. This is Francis Edward Turner.
Hello.
Hello.
Right. I've nicked Frank's interview room to do this interview, and that's why he. But yeah, I really love Daniel Craig. I thought it was good. I really like George Lazenby. He only did the one movie. On a Marriage to the Secret Service is one of my favourite Bond films of all time. I mean, you've got Telly Savalas as a Stavro Blofeld, and he's just, he's sinister, but he's got that suaveness to him. He still had a bit of Kojak in there. It was good. But yeah, I mean, I really liked Daniel Craig. I thought Casino Royale was just nearly unbeatable. I thought it was just phenomenal. You had Chris Cornell doing the theme tune. It was like, man, they are ticking boxes like a motherfucker. It's just, yeah, it was good. But who's your Bond?
I'll probably say that probably Connery and Daniel Craig. I love Pierce Brosnan fit. Yeah, I'm fine with those movies, but
I mean, Roger Moore is a really big place in my heart, because he was Bond when I was growing up. First time I saw a Bond movie at the cinema was View to a Kill, where he looked about late 60s in it, but I was a kid, I don't care. So yeah, Roger Moore, it's just such a different movie when you've got Roger Moore playing Bond, or you've got, Sean Connery. It's just as it is. But yeah, Connery, it's got to be. You don't get many better deliveries as Bond, from Russia with Love.
Being the end of the game, Matt, thank you so much for coming on. If you have anything that you want to promote or anywhere people should find you, now would be the time to share that.
I have nothing to promote whatsoever. Always on tour with Francis Edward Turner. In the next coming months, I don't know when this is coming out, but yeah, I'm mattnasir.com. I'm going to start. I'm not going to be able to have very many places to do it, is the only problem, but I'm going to start doing consultations and lessons on my website. And I've had loads and loads of requests for notation for Frank songs that I currently do not have in my shop there, which I'm getting round to, I promise.
Well, I need a pupil for these lessons. I'm willing to learn. I'm kind of lazy, but I do what
I'll reserve you a spot. What would you want to learn in? What would you want to learn?
I want everything from you. Teach me your ways. Teach me how to play keys.
All right. All of the above. Let's do it.
This show is the brainchild of Black Guy Fawkes folk punk griot. You can find him on all the social medias as Black Guy Fawkes or Black Guy Fawkes Music, as well as on Bandcamp. Merch, music, and ticket sales are how independent music gets sustained, but word of mouth also helps a great deal. The intro and outro are both from the song New American Meltdown by Black Guy Fawkes, so that's legally covered because this is his podcast, and that is his song available on the album Life, Love, and the Bomb. Additional music elements provided by Ben Dumb Production Music. Check out more at bdmusicproduction.com for all your bespoke royalty-free background music needs. Sound design and editing by Ed Coulard, who appears courtesy of his dog and many, many cats. Cover art by Jacob Matthews, a pal who has been down since day one. Finally, while Fawkes and Friends firmly believes that punk rock is and should be a safe space, we know it can't be safe for everyone without excluding bad elements. So remember,
So tell your local Nazis and their fascists to fuck off.
Are you trying to hide so your background can be seen?
Yeah.
So I don't get it.
It's Ray and Blu-ray.
Fucking Christ. Oh, fucking Christ. Oh, wow.
Well, there's the outtake. Leave it in.